For most of my life, I thought the biggest question when it comes to belief is this: who's right? Who's got the right religion? Is God real? Is spirituality real? Or is atheism the only rational position? But over the years, I've become less interested in wondering whether a belief or religion is right, and much more interested in asking something else. What does belief do to a person who holds it? Because I believe that question has quietly changed my life. I grew up in a Christian family. My mom came from a generation of Christians. My grandfather donated land to help churches build. Christianity wasn't just part of a religion, it was part of our identity. My dad became a Christian when he was facing a difficult time of his life. Someone introduced it to him when he was looking for hope and direction. Looking back now, I don't think that's unique to Christianity. Whenever people go through loss, grief, loneliness, or uncertainty, people often become more open to new ideas, new communities, new ways of understanding life. Sometimes that leads people into incredibly healthy communities. Sometimes it doesn't. Human beings naturally search for meanings when life becomes difficult. But growing up created a huge confusion for me. At church, I saw kindness, compassion, people serving others. My mother was very devoted to the church. She cried during worship. She prayed constantly at the church. People admired her. And then we would come home, and it was a complete 180 from what I saw at the church. As a child, I couldn't understand how these two realities could exist together. So eventually, I became resentful of the religion itself. By my late teens and early 20s, I considered myself an atheist. Then something unexpected but expected happened. I started to suffer and I became quite miserable. And that's when I discovered meditation. I didn't know what meditation was. I just knew I was anxious and lost, and I wanted to search for meaning. And the meditation I discovered was unlike anything I experienced before. There wasn't pressure, there wasn't judgment, there wasn't competition. They were simply peaceful. And honestly, I think that's why I kept going. It wasn't the philosophy that convinced me, it was the people. The people were extraordinarily kind. And then eventually, I became more involved in the community. However, there were practices, looking back, that were quite unusual. We had to meditate while looking at a portrait of the spiritual leader of the group who had passed years away. We had to offer food in front of the portrait, and we often had to wear white, specifically of an ethnic kind of clothing as well, and as well as practicing celibacy and becoming vegetarians. So I remember thinking, is this a cult? And maybe it was, but something fascinated me. These people genuinely expected life to work out. They seemed to carry this quiet confidence that somehow life would be okay. And over time, I noticed many little moments that felt almost too lucky. Maybe they were coincidences. Maybe they weren't. I honestly don't know. For instance, one evening, I bought homemade cookies to share at the meditation. And completely by random, I grabbed what I thought was too many cookies for the amount of people that was going to attend. And when I arrived, there were far more people than anyone had expected. And they were short on food. Well, they didn't have any food to offer for the meditation ritual. And the number of cookies I grabbed was exactly the number of people that attended. By itself, that was just a coincidence. But there were many coincidences like that in that community. I'm not here to preach about that community, okay, just words up. So that made me really curious. Not because it proved anything supernatural, but because it made me wonder, does expecting life to work out well somehow changes the way we move through life? And then later on, I met my partner, who was an atheist. He is intelligent, thoughtful, and enjoy debating ideas. But he often jokes that I'm one of the luckiest people he's ever met. Things seem to fall into places in surprising ways. And when he asks why, my answers are surprisingly simple. Because I genuinely expect life to work out. I believe I'm supported. I believe that difficult moments usually contains something valuable. I believe that somehow, even if I can't see it yet, things have a way of unfolding. Can I prove any of that? No. Do I know it's objectively true? Of course not. But here's what's interesting. Living as though those beliefs are true has somehow changed the way I experience life. And maybe that's the more important question. I think we've spent thousands of years arguing which religion is true. And maybe we've forgotten to ask an equally important question. Who does this belief help me to become? Does it make me kinder? Does it make me more peaceful? Does it make me more courageous? More compassionate? Or does it make me more fearful? More defensive? More closed? More cynical? Because beliefs don't just shape reality. Beliefs shapes the person experiencing reality. Something else has fascinated me for years. Humans are meaning-making machines. We can't help ourselves. Every experience, every conversation, every disappointment, our minds immediately asks, what does this mean? And once we create it, we often start to live inside of it. Someone rejects us, and we can conclude, maybe I'm not good enough. Or we can conclude, maybe they're simply just not for me. The event is the same. The meaning is different. And then the life that follows can become completely different. And I think that's why it's almost impossible to completely experience life objectively. Our minds are constantly filtering, simplifying, predicting. Our minds create stories because it helps us to navigate through an incredibly complicated world. We don't meet reality directly. We meet the interpretations of our reality, whether that is a situation, an event, or a person. That doesn't mean objective reality doesn't exist. That simply means that we're constantly experiencing the version of our mind's filtering. And in that sense, every one of us is living through a lens. And every lens reveals something while hiding others. That's probably why it's not that interesting, well, for me at least, to ask which belief is right. I believe it is more interesting to ask what kind of human being does this belief create? Because some beliefs seem to help people to become more open, more generous, more courageous, while other beliefs seem to be making people feel smaller, more fearful, rigid, or more trapped. The belief itself matters, but so do its fruits. Psychology offers fascinating examples of this. Think about the placebo effect. When someone believes that a certain treatment will work on them, their body will respond as if it actually does. Or think about the nocebo effect. When someone expects harm, their body accordingly produces the symptoms where there are no physical cause. Expectation influences experience far more than most of us realize or give credit to. Our beliefs don't quietly just sit inside our minds. They shape our emotions, our behavior, our attention, and our relationships. Even in some aspects of our physical health, our minds are astonishingly powerful. Now, before anyone misunderstands me, I'm not saying that truth doesn't matter. Of course it matters. Nor am I saying that we should believe in absolutely anything. Some beliefs cause us enormous harm. History has shown us that repeatedly. Instead, I think truth and transformation both matter. When we evaluate a belief, perhaps we can ask these two questions. Is there a good reason to think this is true? And who does this belief help me to become? I think both of these questions deserves our attention. So sometimes people ask me, What if someone proves that my beliefs are wrong? And honestly, I thank them. I love to learn. But that doesn't mean that I'll immediately abandon the beliefs that has helped me to become more peaceful, more hopeful, more loving and compassionate. Because I've realized something. We don't need absolute certainty to choose how we want to live. I don't know how the universe works. I don't know what happens after we die. I don't know whether each coincidence has meaning or is it just by chance. I'm happy to say I don't know. And while I don't know everything, and it doesn't really matter, that is not the point. I get to choose the kind of lens I would like to meet today with. I can choose fear. I can choose curiosity or cynicism or hope. Or I can choose that every setback is evidence that life is against me. Or I can choose that every painful experiences contains lessons and values that I cannot yet understand or see. Those choices matter because they are slowly shaping the kind of person I'm becoming. So maybe we've been asking the wrong question all along. Instead of spending our lives asking, who is right? Perhaps we should spend a bit more time asking, who am I becoming because of my belief? Because perhaps beliefs aren't simply ideas that we hold. Perhaps they become the life we live. And if that's true, then choosing our beliefs may be one of the most important choices that we'll ever make.